scapegoat or punishment for a slow response? Tonight, the head of FEMA falls from the hurricane relief front lines, and now speculation that he lied on his resume. Action News next.
You've got to be able to Although heads did not roll today at FEMA, they might as well have. Tonight, the man in charge of hurricane recovery is taken off the front lines. Good evening. This is Action News Live at 11.
Our top story tonight is Hurricane Katrina. Here's the latest. FEMA Director Mike Brown has been replaced as head of the hurricane relief effort after coming under growing criticism for the government's response. Also, the $2,000 FEMA debit cards will no longer be given to hurricane victims. The government is now switching to direct deposits. But there was some encouraging news today. Federal officials now say they have not found nearly as many dead bodies as local officials had predicted during street-to-street searches today.
More encouraging news. By October 2nd, the Army Corps of Engineers hopes to have most of New Orleans drained. Some areas may take almost a week longer. Oh, Ophelia, another week and possibly another deadly storm hovers off the U.S. coast. Ophelia just moved back up to hurricane status, sending waves crashing onto Florida's Atlantic coast. Here in Flagler County, the storm is eating away roads. Forecasters predict the storm could hit land sometime next week. Tonight, the man in charge of FEMA has been forced from the front lines of hurricane relief back to a desk in Washington. But even there, FEMA Director Mike Brown can't escape growing accusations he pumped up his resume for years. Action News reporter Jeff Gradney has been digging into the story. Jeff?
Well, Bob, this is a copy of Mike Brown's full resume. Tonight, we hear from a man who now lives in Las Vegas, but who hired Brown to work back in Oklahoma years ago. And he says that job and what the FEMA chief put on his resume just don't add up. At ground level, hurricane relief efforts continued today. But at the government level, FEMA Director Mike Brown was diplomatically sent back to Washington by his boss.
Mike Brown has done everything he possibly could to coordinate the federal response to this unprecedented challenge.
Here in Las Vegas, Brown's removal from the field is welcome news to Andrea Monteroso, who just arrived here from New Orleans.
I'm very happy that he's out because his reaction was so, it makes me want to cry.
She and others appalled to learn today Brown is accused of padding his resume, claiming to have been an assistant city manager in Edmond, Oklahoma, in charge of emergency services in the late 1970s. Brown's former boss in Oklahoma now lives in Las Vegas.
Mike was not an assistant city manager. I had two assistant city managers. I had one for operations and one for administration. Mike was my administrative assistant. He didn't have anything to do basically with emergency services.
Former Edmond City Manager Bill Dasher says he was concerned when President Bush first appointed Brown to the FEMA post.
In my professional opinion, he's not qualified to have that position.
Still, some hurricane victims arriving here in Las Vegas don't blame Brown for failing his job.
I lost house, boats, cars, and everything else. But it's just something that happened. So, I mean, in a way, it fired him. But I guess he didn't know what's coming either, you see.
So tonight, Michael Brown is back in Washington on his way. He reportedly told members of the press he feels he's being made a scapegoat, but he insists by the public, not by the Bush administration. I'm Jeff Gradney, Channel 13 Action News.
All right, thanks so much, Jeff. Then there are the local efforts to help Katrina's victims. People all across southern Nevada have offered help, but many say no one knows where to actually send them. Action News reporter Mike Dello Stritto joins us live with a plan to cut through the red tape. Mike?
Well, Christina, those looking to help are finally getting help in that process. And guess what? It's two politicians taking up a task that no one has ever attempted.
People are calling and saying, how can I help?
And so far, no one's had the answer.
Well, it's frustrating because, I mean, there is a lot of bureaucracy.
People with open hearts trying to find out how to open their homes.
3-bedroom, 2-bath house.
May I speak with Fran, please?
Volunteers working for City Councilman Lawrence Weekly and State Senator Stephen Horsford work on what will be a sort of yellow pages for storm victims.
Can I just confirm some information with you?
What would you like to donate?
What is the address there?
Name after name.
You have an email address?
Page after page. People want to help and who will now have a number for one-stop shopping. Or, in this case, one stop giving.
You ready for that number?
Please call the hotline at 924-2110.
In a sense, this is inventing the wheel. Right now, there's no centralized system linking those trying to help with those needing help.
All sorts of kinds of agencies.
And it could all be good practice for the disaster that will someday hit closer to home.
The South today, it could be the West tomorrow, and so we better wake up and put some plans in place so that if anything were to happen to us, we'd have a concrete plan.
But back to the disaster at hand now, Hurricane Katrina. If any of you watching this right now would like to help the evacuees, 500 of them potentially coming in on Monday alone, you can call the number at the bottom of your screen. That's 924-2110. We're live in North Las Vegas. Mike Dello Stritto, Channel 13 Action News.
Thanks, Mike. Well, from one-stop organization of local hurricane help to the hurricane victims who desperately need that help. As many as 1,000 Katrina victims have already filtered into our valley. Is there one place they can go to find the answers to all their questions? I spoke with some of them today and found out that is a very good question.
I don't think I want to go back. I don't want to go back.
Gail Butler and grandbaby Ezekiel are among the valley's newest residents, although her mortgage sours in New Orleans' industrial bathwater.
I mean, we've been like gypsies.
Daniel Rolfson knows the feeling.
I don't know, we're just clueless.
Biloxi, Mississippi was his family's last known address.
We're just taking it day by day.
8 years ago today, Gail Rolfson, the bride, said, "I do." Today, what next?
My son, he's borderline autistic.
Where to go for Robert's special needs?
I don't know. I don't know.
To meet the monthly note on a swamped house without a job? Where do you go to find out these things?
I don't know.
What little is known is how much is not.
I mean, honestly, nobody's getting the information back yet.
The frustration of the unanswered long-term questions is eased somewhat by immediate help.
The police department is so nice, Miss
all sorts of stuff.
My son even got a job.
Metro, that's what they called it.
Yes, it's the police department?
Mm-hmm. That's what I was told.
For 250 evacuees today alone, the Fertitas Center has been one-stop shopping for help.
We don't even know these people. They helped us with food and everything, everything. Thank you.
That's good to hear.
Thank you.
And we look forward to having you as a neighbor.
Thank you so much.
Gail, her son, daughter, and grandbaby will stay with relatives here in the valley. Daniel and his family were rescued by his employer, who paid for transportation, temporary housing, and gave him a new job. Our newest neighbors, hardly settled.
Well, efforts to help those hurricane evacuees find work is underway right here in the valley. In fact, Station Casinos is looking to hire 500 employees, everything from dealers to kitchen workers. They will hold a job fair next week. Recruiters say don't worry about what to wear or any of the paperwork.
We understand that people literally came with the clothes on their back and don't have the right paperwork, and our Human Resources Department is cutting through all the red tape and working through that.
What a great idea. The job fairs will be on Tuesday and Thursday next week, and a shuttle will also run from the assessment center to the fair on both days.
Sometimes it's the young minds that often have the biggest hearts. Tonight, the graduating class of a local high school gives away every dollar raised for their senior trip to Hurricane Katrina victims. The seniors at Indian Springs High School donated $4,000 to the American Red Cross, money they had spent 3 years raising for a trip to New York. After watching the devastation and destruction of Hurricane Katrina on TV, they knew they had to do something.
And we finally realized that a senior field trip isn't the most important thing right now. It's helping those people down there and getting to a safer state.
The entire school is trying to add to it with other fundraisers for victims of Hurricane Katrina. Next, she wanted to pull a fast one. Now she faces time. A Las Vegas woman doing California time. What's next for the lady behind the Wendy's chili finger scam?
Plus, know when to say when. A night out ends tragically after one driver apparently takes out revenge on a bartender. And Mark Pfister on the road. History unfolds in his old neighborhood as he returns to New Orleans.
And have you noticed that it's been a little windy around here? Well, our weekend under the gun, but those winds are going to blow us from the hundreds to the 80s, so I don't want to hear any complaints. That's up ahead in Action Weather.
emergency news breaking. Call Action News by hitting pound 113 on your AT&T wireless phone.
Now for the story that made some want to skip dinner.
The Las Vegas woman accused of trying to scam a San Jose restaurant gets ready for meals from behind bars. Ana Ayala walked into court today with a brief smile for her sister and guilty pleas for the judge.
Are you doing this then freely and voluntarily, that is of your own free will?
Yes, Your Honor. Ayala and her husband, Jamie Placencia, entered guilty pleas to each count against them. The couple admitted they planted a finger in a bowl of chili at Wendy's in San Jose last March. They admitted it was a scam and that it cost the fast food chain millions of dollars.
Today she entered a plea of guilty in light of the fact that there were a lot of people that worked for Wendy's that were harmed. She's always felt a lot of remorse about that.
Wendy's may not be convinced about Ayala's remorse, but they are grateful for what happened in court today.
We're glad that this is finally over with and the truth has finally come out, and hopefully this sends a message out there to others out there that this isn't right.
Punishment for the Las Vegas couple ranges from probation to nearly 9 years in prison for Ayala and up to 13 years for Placencia. Prosecutors say they'll likely push for the maximum and hope the two speak up at their final court appearance.
The one thing we've never heard is the defendant's explanation of their crime. I look forward to hearing that. I doubt I'll be satisfied with the explanation, but I do look forward to hearing it to see what they have to say.
And the case should wrap up in November. That's sentencing day for Ayala and Placencia.
High winds blew a small aircraft right off the runway this afternoon at the North Las Vegas airport. The experimental plane could not take off because the nose gear collapsed. A gust of wind hit, swept the small plane away. 2 people were inside. They were not hurt.
A little relief from our valley's traffic congestion tonight. The Durango Bridge over the Summerlin Parkway is finally open. The improvement connects Durango to the city's new 130-acre park and tennis center on the north side of Summerlin Parkway. Several local politicals were on hand this afternoon as the bridge was officially opened with a ribbon-cutting ceremony. Among them, Las Vegas City Council members Larry Brown and Steve Wolfson. The project was built at a cost of $14.3 million.
Christina, Roy Horn made a slow, unassisted stroll into a Las Vegas theater, a good sign of recovery from a near-fatal tiger attack 23 months ago. The illusionist's longtime manager says that Horn has been walking unaided during months of physical rehab. Horn's injuries included a damaged neck artery and crushed windpipe.
Goes into a bar. A bridge comes tumbling down, but we start tonight's action video with an apartment up in flames. Michigan, this huge fire forced dozens of people from their apartments this morning. Flames could be seen shooting from the complex and heavy smoke poured from the roof. 2 people were hospitalized. The fire, meanwhile, remains under investigation.
Waterloo, Iowa, a familiar sight to us, an implosion on a historic landmark. Contractors used high-tech explosives to bring down this bridge. It took only seconds before it was reduced to rubble.
To Florida now, where a car smashes into a bar, killing 1 person. The crash sent 2 bartenders flying, landing at the other end of the bar. This amazing video. At least 2 other people were injured. Police believe the driver was actually upset after being cut off from the bar.
And back to New Orleans, where the amazing pictures continue to come in. This is chopper video of a fire at a boatyard near the front entrance of a NASA facility. The fire, fought by air, was eventually extinguished. Out of the devastation of Hurricane Katrina, a new take on going home again. Tonight, our very own Mark Pfister, a native of Louisiana, gives us a personal account and discovers home is both a location and an attitude. Here's tonight's Pfister File.
A lot of good times have all ended now for at least a few years before they rebuild. Yeah, but they will rebuild.
Stephen Ruth Smedgy had just returned from a 3-month cruise through the Bahamas on a boat now docked at the lakefront marina just north of New Orleans.
Well, everyone here said, oh, it's so dangerous there. Can you imagine the risk of all those hurricanes? So we get home to this.
This area of town, known by locals as the West End, was always full of life. I spent a lot of my childhood here. As a kid, fishing, crabbing, learning how to sail, or just hanging out with friends.
On a Labor Day weekend like this place here, Joe's Crab Shack, these docks over here, they would all be just packed with boats. People getting in and out, filling up with gas, filling up with ice, filling up with beer, whatever it took to head on out to the lake and have a good time. Now the boats that should be in the water aren't.
We've been warned, though, and the weather people and engineers have all said one day that lake's going to end up in the city, and that's now.
We met Corky Potts while he was helping some friends find whatever belongings Katrina might have spared them. And while he couldn't remember what day it was,
today's Friday, or Saturday,
he was well aware of everything going on around him.
Get a derrick, pick them up, put them in the water. Ones that float, fix them. The ones that don't, they'll repair them, and not the end of the world. Hopefully everyone had insurance. Again, this is a luxury, though, and so got lots more people that have bigger problems than we do.
Who knows how many will leave the Gulf Coast for good, but Corky won't be one of them.
Rebuild. We got backbone. Come on, man. We don't quit. Give us a break. Why would you quit? Where are you going to go? This is home.
I'm Mark Pfister, Channel 13. Action News.
It's really interesting to see the range, the spectrum of people reflecting. I'm not going back there. There's no way. You can't drag me back to New Orleans. And then there's some say that this is home. And
well, it's hard to let go of home.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to let go of home. Now, though, we turn to the weather, and Jerry, a lot of people are still talking about Hurricane Ophelia. Of course, it's not in the same area.
The Lady Ophelia.
The Lady Ophelia.
Do you think the guys in the Hurricane Center are Shakespearean scholars, or it's just hard to find female names that begin with O? I just ask out of curiosity.
I don't know. I don't want to get into that O thing.
Well, the O thing, our weather was O today. It was outstanding, except for the winds. It was still, I mean, how can you? Our high was 90. We were below normal. Let's not look a gift horse in the mouth. We can stand some breezes, and they're pretty refreshing if you get out tonight. Take a look at current conditions around the area, and you can see that. Let's start with early warning desert Doppler here, and we'll go right on in, and oh boy, look at that. Nothing in the metro area, and nothing to talk about regionally. You can see some moisture up to the north. That's low pressure. It's setting up south to southwest winds, so breezy and cooler conditions. And now, one place where it's certainly breezy is off the southeast coast, and there is Ophelia, Hurricane Ophelia. It's moving away from land, which should be no problem, but with the high pressure in the east, that's blocking the storm. Now, it's eventually going to guide this storm back to land. At least that's the thinking right now. The further east the high shifts over, the further north along the coast the storm will go. So we're going to keep an eye on that. That could make landfall potentially as a Category 2 storm. Currently Category 1 with 75-mile-an-hour winds. High today 90, a half dozen degrees below normal. We're still warm on the nightly side, but that's going to come down tonight as we'll be in the 60s. Look at some current readings, 77 in downtown. Winds have been up today, but you can see they've abated a little. Just very refreshing out there in the 10 to 15-mile-an-hour range. The winds, the humidity's up a little, but still relatively low, and that will be dropping over the weekend. So clear and cooler tonight. Our morning low this morning, 75. We're talking upper 60s tonight. It will be windy up in the Spring Mountains if you have any plans up there tonight. Breezy tomorrow, 90 degrees. We'll take it. Sunny and breezy in the mountains, 68 up there. And Lake Mead, of course, always warm down there, pushing 100, but should stay in the 90s. Here's your look 7 days ahead, folks. A windy weekend, but those winds, as I said, blow us into the 80s. Do I hear any complaints?
No complaints, but Oprah, Olivia.
Well, there's two.
Still to come on Action News live at 11, remembering 9/11.
From the Big Easy to the Big Apple, two tragedies 4 years apart, how a nation is marking the anniversary when we return.
Saturday night, following the Texas-Ohio State battle, join Greg Papa, Jim Plunkett, and George Atkinson for a full hour of Raider Power. It's the season premieres of The Silver and Black Show and Behind the Shield. Saturday on your Raider station in Southern Nevada, Channel 13. You may not consider yourself an expert in solving consumer problems, but if you have a desire to help, we want you. Action News and Contact 13 want you. Join the team and be a part of our call for action. Come volunteer, help those in need, and make a difference right here in Southern Nevada.
Tonight, remembering 9/11. The 4th anniversary will be marked on Sunday.
They are tourists of tragedy, the throngs of visitors who come every day to stare at the empty space where the World Trade Center used to be. Well, now visitors will be welcomed by those who knew 9/11 firsthand, survivors, victims' families, and area residents who will lead walking tours of the site. They hope to share their stories and make events of that awful day even more real to visitors who until now could only peer through the fencing. Tours start in November.
And no one understands that awful day more than New York City firefighters. But right now, many of them are turning their attention to New Orleans' bravest, the men and women in New York 4 years ago. Just over 300 New York firefighters are in New Orleans helping a fire department where 80% have lost their homes. On Good Morning America today, the Big Easy and the Big Apple firefighters talked about their differences and what they have in common.
Well, voodoo coming is when they come in with the helicopters with the water, it kind of means heads up because sometimes they kind of miss their targets and kind of hit a few of our guys.
And I hate
what it means.
I hate to think what maybe some of the New York and Brooklyn guys have given you in terms of language. Is it repeatable on morning television?
Well, use guys and you busted my beep is another famous saying of theirs. We're starting to learn their lingo though.
Learning their lingo. Well, believe it or not, the $350,000 fire truck that they're standing in front of, that was donated by people from New Orleans to New York following 9/11.
If you were watching TV tonight, there was virtually no way to miss Shelter from the Storm. The concert for the Gulf Coast was aired on all major networks tonight. Hollywood stars from Jennifer Aniston to Garth Brooks, Chris Rock to Paul Simon lent their talent to raise money for hurricane relief efforts. The show was broadcast live from New York City and Los Angeles.
And coming up in sports, week 3 of high school football, the Las Vegas Valley.
Plus, the two biggest rivals in baseball, the Yankees and Red Sox, literally collided tonight in a physical game. Paul Sikala has the highlights next.
Join us for the United Blood Services 9/11 Blood Drive, September 10th and 11th at the Palms Hotel.
The drive goes on all day and no appointment is necessary, so please stop by and donate blood.
Together, we'll honor the past and save lives today.
Tragedy struck. The spirit, generosity, compassion of our viewers and Southern Nevadans led the way to help those in desperate need. Channel 13 sends you this sincere message and speaks for those who cannot be heard in saying thank you. Now, Paul Sikala with Channel 13 Action Sports.
It is week 3 of high school football, and for the 3rd straight game, Las Vegas High was taking on a high-profile opponent. Remember, last Friday, the Wildcats stunned #1 ranked Bishop Gorman, and tonight, Las Vegas was hoping to do the same against 3rd ranked Cheyenne, and early on, the Wildcats defense making it happen, Captain. That's a fumble recovery. Las Vegas recovers. Later in the first quarter, Evan Walton with the catch, run, and smack. Nice little pickup, but even nicer hit. A few plays later, Jamal Lomax would take it in for the score. That would make it 7-zip Las Vegas, and they never looked back. Las Vegas with the big win. And it seemed like just yesterday that Palo Verde High School was celebrating an undefeated season and a state championship game victory over Las Vegas High. And tonight, the Panthers found themselves trying to rebound from a loss last week. They were taking on, or rather defending their home field against El Dorado. Let's head to the 3rd, and nice grab by the big man, Mike Smith. That would set up Drew McDaniel for the touchdown. Panthers go up 49-0, and they win easily against the Sundowners. And quickly, you think the Red Sox and Yankees take their game seriously? Check out the collision between Jason Varitek and Jorge Posada. But Jorge Posada, he's on his back. He still stands his ground. Varitek is out. The fans love it. Oh, yeah. The Yankees win 8-4. And just like that, the Yankees are only 3 games back from the Boston Red Sox.
The fans love it, but that was one big collision.
Big hit.
That's really baseball, though. Major league.
It looked more like hockey, though. All right, next after the break, a man with a big heart and a bag full of toys.
He was there following the fall of the Twin Towers, now following the death of a city. He continues to deliver smiles to children.
Saturday night, following the Texas-Ohio State battle, join Greg Papa, Jim Plunkett, and George Atkinson for a full hour of Waiter Power. It's the season premieres of The Silver and Black Show and Behind the Shield. Saturday on your Raider station in Southern Nevada, Channel 13.
Finally tonight, a local firefighter who lived through 9/11 is teaming up with his daughter to bring smiles to the youngest Gulf Coast evacuees.
Kevin McGillicat worked for the New York Fire Department 4 years ago when the Twin Towers were attacked, and now he wants to help Katrina's victims. McGillicat and his 10-year-old daughter are collecting stuffed animals to send to children affected by the hurricane, and along with the stuffed bears, they are writing letters to let each child know they are not alone.
That is such a great idea.
It is, because the kids really feel this as they see it on television. It's a good way to reach out.
Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Back here tomorrow. See you then.